Hey, do you like living here? Oh, it's great. I love it. Oh, okay, perfect. Well, then you're going to have to pay me more money. Wait, what? Why? Well, because I love your money. Landlords are raising rents everywhere, man, and it ain't fun to be a renter. In this video, we're going to be going over the rules and regulations about rent increases to make sure that you are not being taken advantage of. And well, if you are, then I'm going to help you develop a plot to overthrow your landlord and banish them to exile for eternity. And let's dive in. It's Andrew Parker, your real estate agent here in a sunny Southern California, helping you with your real estate needs. If you or anyone you know is looking to buy or sell around Orange County, feel free to give me a call. I would be happy to help out. We're all feeling the brunt of the real estate market, whether we own or rent. You're feeling it. I'm feeling it. I mean, we're all feeling it. Look at us.
Hey, look at us. Look at us. Huh? Who would have thought? Not me.
Rents across the nation just crossed $2,000 for the first time in May 2022, and that means that they rose 15.2% in the past year alone. And with interest rates rising in the purchasing market, that's making things way more expensive. And so buyers are leaving the purchasing market, entering the rental market, and trying to lock in these rents before they get even higher. Now, the top 10 markets across the country to get hit by these high prices are Austin, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, Seattle, Washington, Cincinnati, Ohio, Miami, Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, West Palm Beach, Florida, New York, Nassau County, New York, and New Brunswick, New Jersey, with Austin being at the top with a 48% increase year over year with rents. Now, here in California, where I live, 6 of our cities made it to the top 11 most expensive areas to rent in the entire country, with the median rent being over $3,400 in May. Now, what on earth can stop this? Rent caps. Rent caps, also known as rent control or rent stabilization, are regulations on how much landlords can increase the rents of their tenants at the end of the lease or during it if they try to do that. Rent control exists currently in 5 states and Washington, D.C. Those are New York, New Jersey, California, Oregon, and Maryland. Now, not all tenants and landlords are affected by these rent controls, and it's important to know where you stand because there are some guidelines as to who this applies to. Now, here in California, rent control is in place for all multifamily rental units, but there are a few exceptions. So who does it not apply to here in California? All single-family homes or condos, unless they are owned by a corporation or a REIT. So if you're somebody who just started renting a property that was purchased by one of the hedge funds that came in and bought all the market, then you might want to check out and see if they own it as a corporation or a real estate investment trust, because in that case, you might be protected. Rent control also does not apply to duplexes where one of the units is being occupied by the owner, and then also it doesn't apply to the new buildings that were built in the past 15 years. This encourages some of the commercial developers to come in and build new units in California because, well, we need it. Now, keep in mind here in California that 15-year period is a rolling date, meaning that it's always 15 years from whatever day it is for you today. Right now in 2022, that means that any homes built before 2007 rent control would apply to, but not anything after 2007. A year from now in 2023, that number will now change to 2008. Now, some of these states also have city guidelines that could be more or less strict depending on that area. It's super important to check those out too, so hit up your local realtor or do a quick search on Google to try to find out for yourself. All right, now that we know who it applies to, let's talk numbers. How much can they increase your rent? Well, again, this is going to depend on where you live, so make sure that you check out your location in particular, but here in California, they cannot raise your rent more than 5% plus whatever your metropolitan inflation rate is. Now, this combined total also needs to remain under 10% of whatever the current rent is. So let's say that you live in Los Angeles and you are currently paying the median rent for Los Angeles, which is about $3,400. Let's also say that your building does meet the requirements to have rent control in place. That's good. That means you're protected. Right now, if your landlord comes to you and says, hey, I want to increase your rent by 5% plus our CPI in the area, which let's say it's 8%, that means that you are up to 13% of your rent. That is not allowed. That is over the max. The max is 10%. That 3% gets wiped off the top, and you're left with a 10% increase of your current rent. Now, numbers. Let's say that you are at that $3,400 with a 10% increase. That means that you have a $340 increase per month, meaning that your overall rent is going to be $3,740 per month. Now, what about those of you who live in a single family home or a condo that is currently owned by just a normal everyday landlord, not a corporation and not a real estate investment trust? Well, if that's the case, then technically they might be able to raise their rent as much as they possibly want unless there's some citywide law preventing that. Okay, one quick note that is super important. Here in California, there is no law that is preventing rent increases on vacant property, meaning that some not so great landlords might try to go ahead and evict you, call the property vacant, raise rents to market value, and then bring in a new tenant. Now, while that might sound terrifying, here in California, we do have a law called AB 1482, also known as the Tenant Protection Act, that does have some rules about evictions, namely these two things. Your landlord does need just cause in order to evict you, like failure to pay rent, committing some crimes on the property, or other violations that I suggest you should read about. Now, if the owner is saying that they're going to be moving into the unit or converting the apartment to a condo, renovating or demolishing the unit, this is called a no-fault just cause. Landlords must offer the tenant a relocation fee equal to 1 month's rent in most cases. Now, evictions can be very stressful, so it's super important that you take note of that to protect yourself. What's also important is that you subscribe to this channel and like this video because, we're friends, right? Okay, so what's my advice regarding all this? Well, first off, you should check yourself before you wreck your lease, because guess what? If you decide to just bail after your landlord says that they're increasing rent, you might find out that you were paying a better deal even with that rent increase than what the fair market vacant units are currently renting for. So if you do end up getting that unfortunate news, well, don't go burning bridges right away, okay? Go check the market so that you at least know your other options before you start giving the finger and walking out, all right? Things have gotten much more expensive recently, and if you haven't been moving in a while, you probably don't realize how expensive they really are. Now, this is especially the case for those people out there who have landlords that have been undercharging them rent. You might be feeling like, wow, my landlord's been awesome for the past couple years. I haven't had a single rent increase. That might change, and I wouldn't just go ahead and say, hey, screw this person, when they really could have been awesome to you again. They just need to be able to cover their costs because, well, inflation. Now, if you believe that your landlord is doing something wrong and potentially illegal, then you should absolutely hire a real estate attorney that is versed in your local real estate law to make sure that you are protected. I would typically say to reason with the landlord first because, again, they are people just like you, and hiring an attorney might be way more costly than just going with the rent increase in the first place. But I can't give legal advice, so call an attorney, man. I don't know. In conclusion, there are some states that protect tenants from massive rent increases, but ironically, they're already some of the most expensive places to live anyway, so I know it's still tough out there regardless. Hang in there, do your best to save money, and keep an eye on the purchasing market because mortgages can often be more affordable than rent. If you are interested in where the market might be heading and why you should start saving money today, then go check out my 2022 market crash video and let me know what you think. Homes might be getting a little bit more affordable in the short term. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video useful, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to my channel. It helps me out a ton. Also, if you want to chat about your real estate goals, hit up my Calendly in the description down below and you can sign up for a little meeting. And otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.